Hey everyone, this is Jackson Millan, the Wealth Mentor, and thank you for joining us again for another episode of Words from the Wise. Today I wanted to pick a bit of a fight, and I wanted to provoke some thought, because something that really annoys me is the entrepreneur, the business owner that presents themselves in a way that isn't congruent to themselves as an individual. Now, I've been in the business space for over a decade now. I've worked in strategy consultancy, I've worked for big financial institutions, I've been a consultant, contractor, owned a number of businesses, and really been actively involved in the business community for over a decade. And one of the things that's always really annoyed me, particularly with a lot of the big names in the industry, is a lot of them are full of shit. And the way that they present themselves to their audience, whether it be their speaking engagements or in their content, or even just generally when they're interacting with the general public, is a 100% facade. And it is a version of themselves that they've fabricated in order to exist in that environment. Now, the thing that I hate about that, and the thing that really annoys me about that, is that it's not a sustainable practice. And I'm sure you've probably observed that a lot of these people have gone from a huge amount of momentum and been able to gain a large amount of traction, a significant following, a level of fame as such in this business community. That's very active in Australia, particularly in Sydney. And all of a sudden they fall off the face of the earth, and they either have crashed and burnt, or they have become emotionally and physically drained by having to put up this persona and play this character for such a consistent and extended amount of time that it just got too hard and they just can't do it and they burn out. And I think that it's really unhealthy. I reflect back on, I guess, when I was first starting out, and I guess for a lot of us, and I'm sure if you're watching or listening, that this resonates with you, that when you're early on in your career, you look for people that inspire you. And I think that because you lack the life experience to know who you are as an individual yet, let's say through your late teens, early 20s, that you really try and mirror or learn from those that inspire you. And in the business space, the only interactions that we get with these inspiring individuals is through their thought leadership, through their events, through their speaking engagements, through their books, through really the way that they present themselves on social media. And that's a big one. That's really a big one that I think is the root cause of this problem today. And you feel like you have to be this type of person, and you really try and create this fake persona for yourself. Like, I recall that when I was back in my early teens, and I'm only 28, so it's not that long ago, but I remember feeling that social pressure that I had to conduct myself in a particular way. I had to create this persona for myself, that I was successful, that I was getting ahead, that I was doing something different, that I was making an impact in the world, whatever it may be. There was this pressure. And it just didn't feel right. And I remember there was a time in my life, there was a tipping point. And I decided that I didn't want to do that. If it meant that I had to fake it, and I guess the saying is fake it till you make it, that I wasn't prepared to do it because it wasn't me. And I think that's something that I inherited from my dad. My dad was always he was always his own person. He was never influenced heavily by others and felt like he had to do things that were cool or trendy. He always said to be unique, be yourself, create your own style, be your own person, be a leader, not a follower. And that's something that always resonated with me. And I remember and I recall the tipping point where I realized this, I made this realization, is where I went on to Facebook and all I saw in my Facebook feed was fake. It was people fabricating this idea of the life that they were living, and it was all bullshit. And a lot of the people that were on there were either people that I'd known for a long time, that I knew they were full of shit. I knew the life that they were living. I knew the decisions that they'd made. I knew what they were doing with their lives, in their careers, in their businesses. And that might have been about 10% of the people. And the rest of the people, I had absolutely no idea who they were. So I decided at that point I was going to delete every single person on my Facebook that either I didn't know or that hadn't made a conscious effort to reach out to me and actually have a friendship or have a relationship in, I think it was 3 or 6 months or something like that. And then I consistently had a habit of every 3 to 6 months going back into my Facebook friends and purging them. And I think that in reflecting back on this situation, I was playing a character without even knowing it. I was playing this character of not participating in this whole creating a persona for yourself. And in turn, I was really doing what I was trying not to do. And that actually is a great point. That one of my mentors always told me that you shouldn't focus on what you don't want to be. It's like riding a bicycle, or for those of you who've ridden a motorbike. If you're going around a corner, you always look to where you're going to turn. Because if you have your attention broken and you look toward the place that you don't want to go, it will actually become a self-fulfilling prophecy that your bike actually starts steering towards the thing that you were in fact trying to avoid. And this is true for a lot of things in life. One of the things for a lot of people is that they try not to inherit the characteristics or the behaviors of their parents or someone around them. And in actual fact, they ultimately end up getting there in the first place and scratch their head as to why. And it's because they've had so much focus on what they didn't want to become that they inevitably became that thing. So back to my point, these people have created this character for themselves. They put on this mask, and it's so emotionally and physically draining because it's not them and they're not in congruence with themselves that they can't sustain it. And through I guess, observing these individuals and particularly heading into this new business, and for those of you who are watching our content, a lot of our content is really new. Like, it's only been since we started Aureus that I really started pushing my brand, The Wealth Mentor, that we've started creating all this content. But one of the caveats that I made when my business partner Sam and I spoke about our content strategy is I said, we can't bullshit people because they're ultimately going to find out. And we're trying to leave a lasting impression in people's lives that they can actually benefit from what we've got to teach, and we should be true to ourselves and we should be upfront and honest. And this is the main reason for a lot of the content that we're producing, that by us being upfront and honest allows us to hopefully help others do the same. There is enough fabricated in this world. Everything is photoshopped. Nothing is real anymore. Think about it. Like, when was the last time that you had you went out to dinner with your partner and you were able to sit at a table without pulling out your phone and going on Facebook? When was the last time you sat on a train or a bus and saw anyone just sitting there having a conversation with a stranger? Everyone's head down into their phone, earphones in, avoiding any possible human interaction. And I think that it is unhealthy. We as human beings are here to make a difference. And this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs 101. I was only talking to a client about this yesterday. But yes, firstly, we need to be safe and secure in ourselves. We've got to have our basic needs. We've got to achieve our own aspirations, and we have to take care of our immediate family unit and those around us. But when we get to that point of self-actualization, where we can actually have the means, whether it be money or time, to give back to others, that is ultimately our purpose. So I urge all of you to do something out of the ordinary. Break the habit to be real, true, upfront, and honest. If it's not with a stranger, with just the people that are around you. There is no point living a life that is not congruent to who you are as a person. And the sooner that you can come to terms with the fact that you are okay to be who you are, and the sooner that you can accept that you will have flaws like anyone else, no one is perfect, and you play to your strengths, and you buffer away from your weaknesses, and you do so with honesty and integrity, you will be a much happier person. I know that even through my experience, I want to be true to myself. And this is what hopefully our content shows to you. And I hope that it's refreshing to see that we're able to speak from this position and document our journey and share our thoughts openly and honestly with all of you that are watching and listening. So hopefully that's valuable. Another episode of Words from the Wise. Give us some feedback of what you want me to talk about. If there's anything you're interested in, any questions that you have, feel free to let us know, and I'm more than happy to cover it on the next episode. Take care.